Alabama is one of only 7 states in the nation that has partisan election of judges. And my race in 2006, I raised and spent $2.6 million. My Republican incumbent opponent, who is a very fine man, he raised and reported that he spent $5.5 million. But what was not included was the fact that that was just a portion that the United States Chamber had spent through another entity, $1.1 million, which you don't know where that money comes from. That the Republican Party, the Business Council spent other money as well. So it ended up being my race, our Alabama Chief Justice race in 2006, the single most expensive judicial race in the United States of America in 2006, and the second most expensive in the history of the United States of America. The only nation in the world, there's only about 3 or 4, but we're one of the 3 or 4 that actually has elected judges. Judges in all other nations are appointed and through merit. So I do think that would be a huge step in the right direction. The people of Alabama, however, want to vote for their judges. But yet they don't become as educated about the issues or what kind of job they've done, so it kind of ends up who raises the most money. And it really is indecent, immoral, and tawdry for a judge to be holding their hand out asking for money for a campaign and then expect the public to believe that they're fair and impartial. I mean, it's really asking, it's not, it's intellectually dishonest to think that you can raise tons of money and then expect the public to believe that you're going to be fair. To put the money in perspective and how Alabama is so significantly out of sync with the rest of the nation. In the state of California, where you have 8+ times the number of citizens, so you have a state with a population of 40+ million, they have numbers of more judges, appellate judges, than we have in Alabama. We have 19 appellate judges. They have merit selection and retention votes, which mean every judge, you vote on them, but you vote on whether to keep them or not to keep them as retention. And during 3 election cycles, 2002, 2004, and 2006, when a variety of their judges came up for retention, their appellate judges, during those 3 cycles, 2002, 2004, and 2006, a total of $230,000 was spent for the entire state for every judge that came up on retention. That's the total that was spent. That amount of money will be spent on one circuit judge race in one of our counties. During that same 3 election cycles, $30 million was spent in Alabama. Now, that's just what was reported by the candidates. That's still not taking into account the outside money, of the chamber and others that have come in. Alabama was the first state that Karl Rove went outside of Texas. Karl Rove had basically done what he did in Texas, and you see how far Texas has gone. But Karl Rove, our state, was the first state that they came to. And they pulled amazing things and said despicable things about Justice Kennedy. It was an extremely dirty, ugly race. He did prevail. But he only won like 1,500 votes, I think, or something of that nature. But then Justice Cook was defeated by now Justice Lynn Stewart, and those were races also that Karl Rove and the chamber had a lot to do with.
There's nothing wrong with voluntary arbitration, meaning that if both sides have a dispute, 2 people have a dispute, or 2 companies or a person in a company have a dispute, and then after the dispute, they both decide together that they want to come out of the court system and have a fair arbitration process where they both have a say as to who the arbitrator is, and they have their rules, and there's nothing wrong with that. What I'm advocating against are these binding mandatory arbitrations that are so one-sided where the consumer has no chance of ever winning. I think it's unfair in any situation where one side gets to pick the decision maker, pay for the decision maker. The decision maker doesn't have to give a reason why he or she comes up with the decision. It's completely secretive and there's no right to appeal. That seems unfair in every circumstance. There is a bill pending in both the House and the Senate. It's called the Arbitration Fairness Act. It's been pending for the last 2 sessions, but nobody contacts their congressperson or their senator and says support this because they don't even understand what it means. So now all of you do, if you could do one thing and contact your congressperson, your senator, cross these things out, tell other people about it. In fact, I would urge all of you, If you feel something after this movie, if you feel energized and you feel like, wait a second, this isn't right, do something. Have a house party. Show the film to somebody else. Tell your torts professors, your contracts professors, your constitutional law professors to show it in their classes. Get it to your high schools, to your colleges. Tell your friends. Put it on your Facebook page. We have a Facebook fan page, facebook.com/hotcoffeethemovie. Like it, and then every time we put out information, share it with your friends. But do one thing if you feel energized after seeing this movie. Just do one thing to get the message keep going forward, because that's how change happens. You know, it happens I'm just one person, you know, I made a movie, yeah, you know, but I have one voice and one vote, just like each one of you. When they put up these front groups, they call them Citizens for a Safer Community, or Citizens Again. I mean, they make it sound like, you know, oh, these judges need to be off because, you know, they're letting criminals out of the courts. But it's never about the criminal system. It's just the civil justice system.
Well, they didn't care about court of criminal appeals. They didn't care about criminal courts. They didn't care they trust a jury in a death case. They just don't trust a jury in a civil tort case. I mean, does that make sense? It is the ability to go in to court that's gotten us clean water, clean air, safer vehicles. I mean, I can go on and on about the changes, the positive changes that have impacted our lives because of attorneys taking the risk themselves, investing the money of them and their firm to go into a court in order to, prove a case.